Egos, leave them at the door, we play for each other. It was 2 o'clock on Sunday morning, and suddenly the Centurion test didn't matter. Shukri Conrad was woken by a message on his phone. Ashwell Prince, South Africa's batting coach, informed Conrad that Prince's wife, Melissa, had died from cancer. She was 40. Melissa was a warm, generous, beautiful soul. The world was lucky to have her, even for so few years. To Ashwell now falls the challenge of raising their 3 sons alone. Ashwell's strength and courage have been proven umpteen times. This is another one of those times, no doubt the most challenging of them all. Of course, the Centurion test continued to matter. As heartfelt as South Africans' empathy for the Prince family would have been had they learnt of Melissa's death when Conrad did, they would still have wanted the team to complete the victory over Pakistan that would confirm them as WTC finalists. Cricket is a complex game, sometimes too complex for its own good, or for that of the human condition. Conrad's team were given the dreadful news, far rather directly than via some outside whisper, however well-intentioned. In that light, the fact that they were able to hang tough enough to score the 121 runs they needed to beat Pakistan, by a scant 2 wickets, is exponentially more remarkable than it would have been with this any old game of cricket, even of Test cricket. Much happened in the 11 hours and 25 minutes between Conrad's phone pinging and Marco Jansen putting Mohammad Abbas through backward point for 4 to take the 9th wicket stand he shared with Kagiso Rabada to 51 off 50 balls. And to clinch victory. Indeed, much had happened in the preceding days, not all of it positive for the South Africans, despite the result. We played some really poor cricket, some soft cricket, Conrad told a press conference after the match. We were bold, we were brave. Some might say we were daft to bowl first, because you generally come here and bat first. But we looked at the weather conditions and we felt we could impact the game in a big way by bowling well up front and putting them under pressure. Then we got ourselves into a really good position with the bat, and threw that away only to get a partnership again with Corbin, Bosch, and the 2 tailenders. But the manner of those dismissals was really soft and allowed the opposition back in. And then we start with a 90-run lead, and for the first 40 minutes we put in probably the worst bowling performance I've seen from this team. Pakistan were dismissed for 211, and South Africa were within 33 runs of parity with 6 wickets in hand when the innings began to crumble. They lost 4 wickets for 35 runs, but their last 2 partnerships were worth 88. The crucial innings was debutant No. 10 Bosch's unbeaten 81. But some of what had gone right for the home side was undone early in Pakistan's second innings, when ill-disciplined bowling yielded 48 runs in the first 10 overs. Pressure does massive things to you, Conrad said. We're an inexperienced side, and the WTC final weighs on you. You want to get there, and you don't mind how you get there. But for the growth of this test side we need to be a lot more clinical, we need to be a lot more consistent, and we need to be a lot more resilient, especially with the bat. When the opposition are bowling well and the conditions are tough, we need to be able to do tough. South Africa went into the match after winning 2-0 in Bangladesh in October and November and beating Sri Lanka by the same margin at home in November and December. Sunday's success was their 6th consecutive victory. But Conrad saw room for improvement. Not to be blasé or wind-gat, arrogant, about it, but even in Bangladesh, on good pitches, we played well but we weren't tested. They folded. There were little signs in Jiquibara where Sri Lanka played really well and we weren't up to the task. Even so, Conrad had seen something special develop since his appointment last January. Egos, leave them at the door. We play for each other. We're trying to find a way, whatever the obstacles are, to get to a solution rather than delve too deeply into things. To illustrate, Conrad relayed something Rabada had said to him in Bangladesh. I've played in some great South African sides with legends with Dale, Steyn, and Vernon, Philander, and Morne, Morkel, and Graham, Smith, and Fav, du Plessis. But I'm playing with my mates now. Conrad backed up Rabada's view. That rings so true. They're a bunch of mates who want to have a hell of a lot of fun. And win. There are going to be some hiccups along the way, but I think they've got each other's backs. There's a really strong bond in the change room. That's probably the biggest thing that we've got. Everybody pulls in the same direction, and we just get on with things. But Conrad's team remains a work in progress. We want this team not to know when they're beaten. And we want the opposition also to know that this side doesn't know when they're beaten. That they bat a long way down and they've obviously got bowling strength that can take 20 wickets. And he's well aware that there is consternation that a team could reach the final without playing England or Australia home or away and not touring India. I think people abroad will be shouting about our easy draw, but I'm certainly not going to sit here and apologize for that, Conrad said. I didn't think it was possible, but I thought we had it in us to scare some people. In this WTC cycle, 35 batters have scored more runs than any South Africa player and 13 bowlers have taken more wickets. But Joe Root has had 21 more innings to score his 1,968 runs than David Bedingham has had to make his 596. Similarly, while Jasprit Bumrah has bowled 383.4 overs to take 75 wickets, Rabada has had only 256.4 overs for his 41 strikes. It is equally true that the South Africans haven't settled into stability and steadiness, which Conrad acknowledged. Struggling is part of the journey. It was never meant to be easy. Test cricket is brutal. It exposes every bit of you. The cameras are all over, and we've got real experts in the commentary boxes dissecting it all. That gets to the players. It does, but not nearly as much as news of a death in the cricket family on an already fraught Sunday morning.